Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Juan of Words podcast. I'm Juan.
And I'm Angelica Casares.
Thanks for joining us. And
it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
It's been a little bit. Yeah, it sure has. I am back to be here.
You're back.
I'm back to be here. I am glad to be back. I not that I don't like being here, but sometimes I guess things are just a little bit hectic. And so recording, it's not a daunting task, but it is a task.
Yeah.
And it's an additional task to the things that we do.
Yeah, just it's getting ready, getting here, like all of that. But no, we're glad to be back. And so before we get started, there's a few things that I want to just talk about. And one of the things is that this is actually Men's Health Month. The month of June is actually Men's Health Month. And this week that we're actually
Pride
recording,
Month also.
It is also Pride Month. Yeah, absolutely. And this week that we're actually recording is actually National Men's Health Week. And, for me, I was like, you know what, not it's like kind of like Father's Day, right? Like nobody talks about it. It's kind of like that holiday, that holiday that gets shown that you're like, oh yeah, that's coming up. It's there, but nobody really cares about it. But I was like, you know what, for me, I was like, you know what, I want to highlight National Men's Health Month, or at least mention it on the podcast, because I think it's important. I think that, a lot of times we don't take care of our own health, or we don't make our appointments. And
Men.
Okay. And speaking of it, I still haven't made my appointment.
So it's here, but you're
aware. Haven't done it.
You made awareness post, but you still haven't done what you need to do.
Yeah, I'm a what do they call them? I'm a living testimonial about that.
No, you're a fraud.
But no, I wanted to mention it because I feel like, when you don't take care of your health, then it's easy for things to kind of catch up on you. Yeah. And so for me, personally, because of my own, with my dad and his history, I feel like that's important to mention. And so for me now, I try to be a little bit more conscious of it. Obviously, it's a work and effort. It's not there yet. Mm-hmm. But for you guys that are out there, this is Men's Health Month. So if you do need to go to, check on your health, or you need to go to the doctor, whatever you need to do, now's a good time to do it. Before Father's Day, during Father's Day, after Father's Day, just figure out a time to do it this month and make your appointment.
Just take your ass to the doctor, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go do mine.
Just FYI, just take your ass to the doctor, please. If you haven't within the last, my thing is if you're over 35, visiting the doctor more than twice a year is a good thing.
And for men over 40, if you're once you reach 40, I think it's a good idea to go, because there's certain things that you need to check for.
Yeah.
So I'm right there. My birthday's coming up this month in a couple days.
Well,
so
thank you for making us aware of that.
About my birthday?
No. Well, yeah, your birthday too, sweetheart. But for overall, men's health.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And with me, I'm going to turn 42 this year. So
you're turning 50.
So I'm thinking there's things that I'm like, oh, okay, I want to get done. I wanted to get a colonoscopy done, because I was like, I'm not to say that.
Do you want to get it done, or do you feel like it's necessary?
I feel like it's necessary.
Okay.
I know it sounds weird for me to say, oh yeah, I want to get a colonoscopy done. But I wanted to have it done because of because of the history of my family now, and I'm like, I want to get checked, and when I tried to do that, when I was, I think before I hit 40, they told me, wait, you should be 40, you should wait until you're after 40, because your insurance is not going to approve it before you're 40. So now that I'm over the hill, I'm like, let me go back. Let me go back and request that.
You're so dramatic. Imagine when you turn 50, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is it.
Yeah. But anyways, and the other thing, I wanted to share a bit of good news that something that I did recently. I participated in a business pitch competition.
You did.
And it was here in Houston. It's through the community college here in Houston Community College. And, I was a second place winner. And I was surprised, because I didn't really. Well,
congratulations, Juan. I didn't tell you that day, but I kind of already knew. The thing with you is that, and we've had this conversation before, is that Juan tends to be an overachiever. The thing with him is that he's
we had a whole discussion about that the other day.
About overachieving? Yes, we did.
About the word overachiever?
We had a fight. Full-on fight. So Juan tends to be an overachiever when it comes to work. Like I said, my husband's a workhorse. He just does what he needs to do. And I knew you were either going to get very much recognized for the work that you put in. I already knew you were going to get
I'm a nerd. I think I'm a nerd when it comes to this kind of stuff. So
yeah, you are.
So I had a good feeling, but I wasn't sure if I was going to make it, because I had never participated in a business pitch competition. But I went through the whole process, and it was the classes themselves weren't bad, because it was several months. I think it was 5 months of classes that we took, where they were teaching us how to put together a business plan.
Okay.
And then at the end, we submitted whatever we put together. And they picked, I think I was out of like 26 people. They picked 5 finalists. So I made it to that round. I had to go in front like well, I have to make a video.
1 minute video.
A 1 minute video, submit that.
Tell them what you did. Tell them what your opening was on the video.
Oh, so my opening was like, I don't have a newspaper, but my opening was like, imagine I have a newspaper here and a phone here. And I was like.
So a newspaper in one hand and a phone in the other.
Yeah. And I was like, I picked up the hand with the newspaper and I was like, let's face it, times have changed. People have switched this. And then I picked up my other hand and I had my phone for this.
Such a nerd.
And then I went into my whole spiel for like a minute. And it wasn't the best quality video. And I was just like, you know what? I needed to hurry up and do it. Because like you said, it's like sometimes you're like in the middle, like you just have so many things to do. And this was like one more thing. And I was like, oh, shoot, I have to turn in today.
All right.
So I did it. Anyways, I went through this whole thing. Then they had this like judging panel where it was like intimidating because it was like 14 judges and me. And they were like all asking me questions. And I had to do a 15-minute presentation. And then they take like a week to let you know. But they let me know, and then we had a whole award ceremony, another like hour and a half. And then they finally were like, they announced the winners, and it was down to like me and this other company. And I was like, oh crap. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. But I was glad that they won because I was like, they were definitely very excited. And I was like, I don't know if I would have shown that much emotion.
If I would have won.
If I would have won, I would have probably just been like,
he did. You won second place.
Oh my God, thank you.
You won second place. Juan reacts like this.
Thank you. Like, Thank you. That's awesome. That's my excitement.
Yeah, that's it. And actually, that was an exaggerated version of, that's awesome. Be like, no, you would have been like so you're very monotone. So a lot of your excitement doesn't show, but I can tell when you're excited when you talk about it a lot.
Yeah. But anyways, like, I'm happy about that, but I do want to, the reason I wanted to mention that more so than announcing that, you know what, pat me on the back, I won, is that there actually are a lot of business competitions out there like this. And like me, like some
not
people
just business not just for businesses, but there's opportunities out there that sometimes
that we don't even know about.
Yeah, so it's not promoted like on the news and stuff like that. But if you dig a little bit and you know where to dig, you can find them. And
it's not that hard. Like, I mean, if you do a Google search and just start looking up for like grants, opportunities, business grants, and start looking at the criteria, there's bound to be something open right now that's good. That's probably an opportunity that you can apply for. So I would definitely encourage you to do that. And you know, that kind of leads into mentioning our sponsor for this episode, which is Comcast. Yeah. And Comcast just recently, like I know you've heard us mention it several times, that they just recently did their program which was grants. They awarded $1 million to here in the Houston community, $5 million nationwide. So programs like that exist. And the one I just went through was similar. Like I didn't, you know, it was like, you know, we did win a little money too, so it's not bad when you can walk away with a little money.
Yeah, it's never bad when you can walk away with money.
And not to mention the experience and having a business plan now that you can build on. So anyway.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. So, all right, really quick. So what do you think was taking most of your time then to finish this thing? So I have a bad habit of doing this, that like I need downtime. Mm-hmm. What do you do on your downtime, Juan?
Me on my downtime? I'm bad about downtime. Like
what do you do?
No, I like my.
Tell the audience what you do.
My guilty conscience. I know what you're getting
conscience?
at. I know what you're getting at. My guilty pleasure is like I like watching reality TV, like
trash TV.
Like I like the trashier the better. Like I watch like. I just finished watching, and I don't mean to say trashy because like that. I don't think
it's not trashy.
I mean, like, you know, the more dramatic,
the more drama the more drama in the whatever he's watching, the better. Like he's just, and then it can be anything. In YouTube videos, like he loves the drama.
Yeah,
just because it takes you away from your mundane.
Yeah, it like takes me away. Like you can, I was like you were asking me something the other day. You were like telling me something about something going on in current events, like in the news, and I was like, I don't know nothing about that. But ask me about anything going on in the Housewives of Atlanta. Like it's
no, it's not even Housewives of Atlanta. Housewives of anything. Housewives of Bel Air, Housewives of New York, Housewives of New Jersey, Housewives of whatever.
I feel like
that is your guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I feel like it's manufactured like drama, so nobody's really getting hurt. Like everybody there is getting paid to like be subjected to drama, so I don't feel bad. So I don't feel bad for them because I'm like, well, they're all being they're all getting paid well to like be
my
subjected to drama.
problem with watching the housewives of everything is the problem that is I always put myself in that position. I think to myself, how would I have reacted? And then it makes me mad. And I'm like, she shouldn't have said this and she shouldn't have said that. And I start to take sides and I'm like, this is so stupid. Like, it's entertainment and I'm taking sides. Like, I don't need to be doing that.
But what sucks about that is like sometimes you really like, because it's like really, you really like one person, one character. You really like one character. Mm-hmm. And then that character is similar to another character that you find somebody else and they have like similarities and you like them both. Mm-hmm. And then this character over here, all of a sudden you're like, oh, they're different. And I don't like the way they act and I don't like the way the things that they're doing. And you're like, oh man, like how come they both can't be like this one?
How can they both be liked by everybody?
But I just finished watching, like speaking of that, I just finished watching the Mama June Road to Redemption. Speaking of like
Mama June Road to Redemption. Yeah. Are you talking about
Honey Boo Boo?
Oh my God. No, we cannot say I cannot take another other.
So when I say like my guilty pleasure is watching reality TV, I mean my guilty pleasure is watching reality TV.
Like for real. So okay, so speaking of reality TV, because you're not the only one who likes it.
Yeah.
I do, but it's more subtle for me and it's more controversial for me that I like stuff. So one of that I've been following along with for so long is Sister Wives.
Oh yeah,
and I think I said this on here before. I can't get into
that one.
I think I've said this on here before, but this time they're really showing like their attitudes and they're really showing like the dynamic and the relationships between each sister wife and their husband. And then I always I'm in that mindset where I always put myself in that position, and I think to myself things like, would I be able to be a sister wife? Like, would I be able to shut up? Don't laugh at me. I'm being serious. Okay, look, I do think to myself, would I be able to, because I feel like I have a very, like, I can manage relationships with women better than I can with men. And so, but I know it's different. I know. And people are like, no, relationships are to be monogamous. And then I started looking, I started looking up all types of like relationships, right? And not just monogamy, but like those who are in plural marriages or those who are married to one person, but then they go outside. They're not exactly committed to the other people that they either like. And then there's some couples open marriage, and then there are some couples who are married but don't have a sexual relationship, but they have an intimate, like,
more like companionship,
and they look for their sexual pleasures like elsewhere. And so I just all that like
some people say they're asexual. Like I don't understand that, but I know some people say that they are.
I would hate to misquote any of that because I've been looking into it and I've been just researching just so I understand. So when somebody tells me, when they talk to me, I understand what they're saying. Yeah. I would hate to be ignorant like that. So I just want to understand what they're saying. But
unaware, uninformed.
Yes, correct. But so I put myself in the position of like, what would it be like to be in like a sister wife? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We're not Mormon, but we're none of that, right? And our religion says you're to be in one relationship. Mm-hmm. And in the Bible, there are people who have been in, who have multiple wives, right? Some of the
figures in the Bible,
I don't know if they were.
I don't want to carry them characters like that.
I don't know if they're prophet. I don't know. So you know what I mean. So anyway, going back to what I was saying. So I don't know how I would react as a sister wife, and I think to myself like, what would my relationship be with another woman, knowing we share intimate moments with our husband? Would I be okay with, if I was a sister wife? Would I be okay with having the other sister wife like being like cuddly and touchy and kissing the person that I'm married to? Would I be okay with that? Or would I be in the mindset of like, no, you all can keep that behind doors and we're all very like,
but then,
we'll high five each other and that's as much as like, you know what I mean? No pets, no pats on the butt, none of stroking your hair or none of this right here where you like rub the shoulders and intimate looks into each other. Like, I don't know if that would make me feel weird.
But I think that, like, honestly, I would accept that. I think I would be more comfortable with that.
With when?
To like being in a sister wife, like situation unit, like as opposed to like.
Yeah, you would.
When you go into the like bachelorette thing where they're making out with one person like 1 minute, and then the next minute they're making out with another person, and it's like,
you crazy fool. These sister wives are having full-on families.
I know, but like, yeah, they're having families, but they made the choice. Like they're aware. They've made a conscious choice that they're going to do
People
this.
on the Bachelorette people on Bachelorette also made the choice of doing that.
No, I know, but it's like, it's just a little bit more like, like they're like people. A lot of times, people that are on those shows are also there for like fame, or they're there to try to make a name for themselves, or they're like trying to get on TV. Well, so it's not necessarily like, they're not necessarily doing it because they just want to like fall in love. Like everybody says, oh, I want to fall in love, but in reality, it's a path to a means, Mm-hmm. So I think, to me, like, that's a little bit more weird, like where you just come into a situation where like you're just making out with everybody. And like for the person that's the bachelor, the bachelorette, I mean, I'm sure they're having a good time.
I don't know. I think it's okay. I think
it's fine. Like, I'm not trying to judge it, but I'm just saying, like, to me, that's a little weirder than like when you already know, like, you're already married.
Maybe the proximity of like if a bachelor kisses one girl and then kisses another girl a couple of hours later, that might be weird for you. But you have to understand that people, like, maybe the time frame bothers you, but you've kissed other people multiple times. Like, in your lifetime, so why would it bother you that somebody has kissed multiple people?
Well, I guess that there's there's a commitment missing. So like, say like if you and I are married,
you've been committed to everybody you kissed?
No, that's not what I'm saying. Okay. What I'm saying is, like, if you and I are married, mm-hmm. and then there's another wife here, mm-hmm. that we're the three of us are committed to this relationship. Mm-hmm. But if you on the other hand, I'm just dating you, and then there's this other girl here who I'm just dating, y'all aren't necessarily in agreement. Y'all are both competing for the same guy. So, and then the guy kisses you and then kisses the other one. Then that's a little bit more weird.
Okay, that's part of the conversation on Sister Wives, is that you feel like you're always competing for the attention. Not that you're feeling like you're competing, but if your relationship with the man that you're sharing with another woman isn't the best at the moment, and the other Sister Wives, they have a better relationship, you kind of, you think to yourself, okay, like, what's going on here? Like, maybe, and that's kind of the conversation. But he has a commitment
to all of them.
Hold on, Juan. So that's the commitment. That's the problem with a sister wife, is that you are always going to compare yourself to the relationship that somebody else has. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why plural marriages or multiple, like, we all have to be like in unison of like, okay, it doesn't, this that's happening here is not affecting what's happening between us. We're having issues because we're having issues. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
But again, I don't know if I'd be able to do that. I think that would really test my limits on like, it just heightens. I think it would, I don't know. I think I would be a good sister wife, but then I think to myself, it would heighten my insecurities, and I'm not well when you heighten my insecurities.
Well, see, I don't know about that, but like I have told you, like, I was like if they do a reality show in Houston, you should go on there and like be as dramatic as you can, and like create as much chaos as you can, so you can get the biggest paycheck, and you can like
just cross all kinds of problems, start all kinds of rumors on that.
Because I feel like the best people that are on reality TV are the people that understand that it's a business, and they understand their role. Like, they understand that they're being produced, and they play to the camera. So they understand that's not necessarily their real life. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that I enjoy watching, because I feel like they get it, and they're not taking themselves so seriously on camera. Like, it's just like, oh, you know what, we're here, we're gonna I'm in my row, and that's it. And I like that. I like people that can detach.
But so there's one that we follow from the New Jerseys, the wives in New Jerseys. And it's, what is her name?
Which one, Teresa?
Yeah, Teresa. So she like has
star of the show, yeah.
Yeah. So she like went through a whole divorce, and even her like daughters were affected by this, and it's altered their life. And so, how much of your life are you willing to expose for it to alter you?
But the flip side of that is that,
you gain money and fame.
Had money and fame. Had it not been for that show, like, she wouldn't have been able to pay. She wouldn't be able to have the lifestyle that she has right now after everything that happened to her and her husband.
Again, but it's an exchange. Yeah. So how much of your life are you willing to expose for exchange of this popularity and money, fame, and all that comes with it?
But I think that's why I respect the people that know how to manage it, because they look at it as a business. It's like anything else. Like, if you are working for a job that is very demanding, like, you at a certain point.
Okay, so when does real life stop, and when does business start? If you're the business, if you're the brand.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that's like even if you're at a regular job, like if you're getting at a 9-to-5 or a corporate job, and you're in the position where you have to work these crazy hours.
Different, but that's different.
You have to work these crazy hours and do all these commitments.
But that's different.
At a certain point,
you get to leave work at work, and you get to go home.
But at a certain point, you have to carve out.
When you're the business, you take home, you take business with you.
You have to draw a line in the sand and say, you know what?
But it's so blurred.
This is my like, my work-life balance is going to be important, and this is what I need. This is what I'm not willing to negotiate.
But it's blurred. It's such a blurry. It's not like a fine line. No, it's blurred for everybody. It's just some people happen to be, they like can go outside of themselves and be like, you know what, this is business. I'll take this personal, and this is business.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like what happened to Candy when what happened
when
there.
All fall into like.
Yeah, I know. Let's fight about this really quick. Like full on to
like
Candy,
reality.
right?
Like, the drama spilled into.
Let me say the drama that spilled into like what happened on the Housewives spilled into her real life. Like she was being tarnished, and so she wasn't gonna take it. So again, the line is blurred for everybody, and I think she's a businesswoman. And so when do you stop real life, and when do you start? When do you decide it's just business?
I think that you, like I said, I think you have to, like, it's like drawing a line in the sand and saying, I'm not going to cross this path. Like there's certain stars, certain celebrities, and I don't know if they're celebrities or not, but certain reality people. And like that basically, like they know, like once they're not recording, once the season stops, they're not trying to grasp for attention. They just go into their like lives, their private lives, and that's it. They every once in a while they'll post on social media.
But that's what I'm saying. Can you really go into a private life when you're already in the public eye?
Yeah, you can.
Because we know because we're so popular. No, we don't.
No, not us. But I mean, I think I see some people that don't take it as seriously. At least from what you like from the like optics. You know, it's all fake, but like from the optics of what it looks like on reality TV plus the like whatever.
I don't know. I think you're delusional. I think it's an illusion for you, Juan. I don't think people. Yes. I think you can manage it with a lot of help.
It's compartmentalizing and understanding.
Don't throw words at me like you know what you're talking about.
This is work, and this is my life, and this is my work life. And like if you can divide the two, then you're better off. And I think that's like with anything. Like if I'm not gonna if you take all your work home and you're like constantly like, you know, like even me, like when I'm like constantly working, like I get up and I'm working, I go to sleep and like I'm up till late working, and sometimes I just have to say, you know what, I need to pull away and I need to like do something else. Or I need to go do something with Edgar. I need to go do something, like I need to go spend time.
You need to pull away from what? From work?
From my computer. Like pull away from just being on my computer working, sending emails, and like being like, oh, I got one more thing here, one more thing there, and I have to pull away and be like, no, I need to pull away. You know what?
But your life isn't online. Your life isn't in the public eye. So you have the capacity to do that.
No, but I'm not saying that.
And when you're trying to gain popularity, or you're in a situation where where your success depends on how many people like you or hate you or follow you or like your storyline. Like when your life depends on that, your line is blurred.
But does your life depend on that?
Yes, because it all depends on how much people hate or like you.
I don't know. Like I think that some people
I couldn't be first of all, I couldn't have a reality because I'm so fucking boring.
Well,
I'm so
it's the
like
same
not
thing for,
interesting.
Like social media, like a social media influencer, like
you have to be interesting to do it.
You make the decision of how much or how little you share.
But you have to be entertaining enough for people to follow along with your story.
I don't necessarily think you have to be entertaining. I think you have to be engaging, like, which is different to me. Like, I feel like you don't have to be like jumping up and down. You don't have to be doing all that.
No.
You just have to be able to engage people in some way.
Yeah.
And so I think, like, and you decide how much you of yourself you put out there.
But a lot of so there's a term that it's like do it for the gram, right? This has been said before, like in our pop culture. Now, not pop culture.
But then you get stuck in that, like.
But this is the culture now, right? It's like do it for the gram, do it for the picture, do it for this, right? And sometimes you have to stop and really recollect, like, am I doing it? It's not even, am I doing it for this? It's, am I comfortable sharing this? Like, even if I did it for the gram, am I comfortable to share that I did it for the gram? And what am I trying to get across? Again, because even on Instagram, I always want to be entertaining. Like, I don't want people to they're using the Instagram as an escape. So I don't want to be, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be always like armagada or like on IG, but then I do want to like share real life too. And so it's a balance.
But the thing is, it's so, like, if we're talking now about social media, like, it's so easy to fall into the hamster wheel of like constantly trying to keep up. And if you notice, it's like you're just in this cycle and you're running in circles. And I think sometimes the best thing that you can do is to remove yourself completely from the hamster wheel and just focus on what it is that you want to produce, and just focus on that and produce it and put it out and put it out and put it out and do that. And like, it doesn't matter. Like, the rest of it doesn't exist and it doesn't matter. Yeah. And to me, like, that's one of the reasons that like I gravitated, I think, to reality TV to begin with, because I was like, oh, you know what, instead of being on social media and like starting to like, even if you don't want to, like, eventually like you can't help but to be like, oh, so, oh, look, this picture is somebody's doing this, oh, this picture somebody's doing that, oh, that looks cool, oh, that looks interesting. And so I don't want to do that. So I'm like, you know what, I'd rather fill my time, like my free time, with like reality TV, where it's not, and nobody's connected to me. I don't have any ties to anybody. It's just entertainment, and I can just see how things play out.
I see. So you want to be judgmental too.
Yeah.
And like, not affect anybody. Yeah. Did you just say? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, let's be honest. I mean, that's why we like watching reality TV.
Like, Juanito.
And it's just entertainment. And I do have a certain respect for people that are able to do that, because it does take
who can be entertaining like that by just living their life.
Yeah. This episode of the Juan of Words podcast is brought to you by our friends at Comcast Houston,
who
we are very proud to be working with. And they recently awarded, through their Comcast Rise investment fund, in the community of Houston, in the entrepreneur
at the price of how much?
They invested $1 million.
They sure did. To how many? To how many?
To 100 businesses. They each received $10,000. So
there's a lot that you can do with $10,000 in your business.
Yeah, and we are grateful for Comcast for their support of our small business and for the support of other small businesses. So enjoy the podcast, and thank you to our friends at Comcast.
Enjoy the rest of the episode. Hola, and we're back. So here's what happened. 2 hours later, our stupid battery to our camera, dude. I don't even remember where you left off, Juan. I think we were talking about trash TV. And at some point we were talking about, I don't even remember. I don't even know where to wrap that one up.
Well, I don't know. I was driving because our thing gave out, our battery gave out, and I was driving. I had to go do some stuff. I came back. And on my way there, I was like, I can't believe I was a little embarrassed that I shared that much about my reality TV obsession.
I mean, you were adamant about it. You were adamant about just going on and on, trying to justify. And I kept trying to explain to you how you're like, there's a fine line. I was like, no, it's blurred. And you're like, no, there's a fine line. I was like, dude, it's blurred. And you're like, there's a fucking fine line. And
but see, this is what happens. We were just arguing. So this is what happens. Like, you step away and then you come back, and then the conversation is like the one version of the conversation, and then there's another version of the conversation. And
then you heard it.
And you're never in agreement. You're like, no,
of course you're not.
That's not the way I remember it. And you're like, no, that's the way I remember it. And it's just
okay. You listened. I mean, listener, you listened, right? Tell us si estoy mal or no, that Juan was insisting that there was this line, there was a line in the sand. You kept referring to this line in the sand, that they know when to stop and when they're smart because it's business
that's what we were
versus
talking
reality.
About. Yeah,
and I was like, no, Juan, it's a blurred line because they're the brand, they're the business. And so it's difficult not to take things personal.
But in this day and age, everybody, and in this day and age, being the brand, you being the brand is such an accepted concept. People accept that as if something happens,
as a true thing.
Not a true thing, but as a reality of the social digital world that we live in. So if you represent a company, or if you as the president of a company say something, you're the face of the company.
Correct.
So then people, if they don't like what you said, they might protest your company, or they might decide they don't want to boycott your company.
It's not that easy to separate yourself from a business when you're the business.
Yeah. But even when you represent a business.
Look, I don't know. My implication was just simply telling you it's so blurred. One day it's a forever moving target. When it's not, and this is acceptable, when it's not acceptable, and you think about it years later and you think to yourself, what the fuck was I like? Okay, so we uploaded videos years and years ago. Me and Juan making fun of things that aren't even funny now. It's offensive at this point. And I was like, I can't believe we did that.
I don't think it was offensive.
See, here is Juan with the radio of the same thing over and over. No, it's not. It's no. And for me, I found it was so immature. It was so immature for us to have been in that age to sit there and upload these videos that we thought were funny.
Well, you know what? That reminds me. I was listening to a conversation that was somebody was talking about, how like sensitive we are now to to a lot of different. Wait, hey, I didn't interrupt you. Let me finish. Like somebody was talking. I was listening to somebody who was talking about, how sensitive we are now to a lot of different topics and issues and like things that can be said, can't be said. And
I feel like if you're listening to the podcast, you can't hear me roll my eyes, but please go ahead.
And the person, she was an older person, and she made a good point that I kind of agreed with, and she said something to the effect of like, I'm old enough to understand that my life doesn't begin and end on social media. People are going to get over that.
What does that have to do with you being offensive online?
It's not about being offensive, but it's like if you can't speak your mind openly because you're so limited, you feel so constrained on what you can and can't say.
Look, you can't be crazy and Becky online.
Then at some point, like you stop being like true to yourself because you're too concerned about what people are going to think about you. So I think the only point she was saying, she wasn't saying be offensive. She was just saying, she was a comedian, and she was just saying, I'm not concerned because I'm old enough to not care. If people like or get mad at me today and like they come after me, the next scandal is going to happen 5 minutes later, and they're going to forget about me in 5 minutes.
No,
so you write it out.
Forget about you. I'm just curious. Did you forget the things that happened to you as a child and the people who did it?
No, but I mean things that like certain things. Yeah,
I mean, it might not be
like,
so personal, but I remember the things that some people said or did.
Like I don't think a tweet is traumatic. Like I don't think a tweet is going to traumatize anybody. Like that's different from
Speak for yourself.
If something traumatizing happened to you in your youth, then I think that's different than like if somebody just sends a tweet that offends you.
There's no reason for me to go online and feel like I'm gonna be. So here's my thing, right? There's no reason for us to go online and be like, oh, you're being like literally like. Sometimes I feel like you're being like, pushed into your reckoning of like you have to understand that it's not personal, right? All the time, every time you're online, but you're like, why does it have to be like that? So I feel like like if you had like a wild uncle and aunt, and it feels like they're always on, like online, and you can't like run from them online. Mm-hmm. You can run from them in real person and be like, oh my gosh, she's just talking crazy, being wild as hell. And I try to talk to her and I try to tell her, hey, like you're being like.
Well, I get that you want to go.
Whatever. I care, but I don't even care at this point.
I get that you go online and you don't want to see those things, or there's certain things that you don't want to like. You don't want to feel like you're attacked or you're offended. I understand that, but then doesn't that like play into the whole thing of like the algorithm where all of a sudden like you're only seeing content that agrees with your own thoughts, and you're not challenged. Your thoughts are not challenged because you don't see content that might give you another perspective, and then that becomes a little bit dangerous, because then you have the whole thing, like the whole like how divided everything is right now in a lot of different situations, politically speaking, especially. Everything is so divided because people can't have conversations.
You know what I am? Can I be honest right here, right now? I'm so tired of talking about the same rhetoric, about the same things and the offensiveness of things just because you want to be offensive, or because you have the right to be offensive, and I deserve to be heard even if I want to be offensive.
But me, you're talking about me?
I'm talking about anybody online.
And I'm it's like,
for me, it's like, yeah, and I can call you out on it every single time. Like, you can't be offended. But how are you going to, okay, so you're calling me offended for saying the things you said, and then you're offended for me telling you, hey, that's pretty fucked up. But how is the offender going to be offended too?
But I'd rather have both people speak their mind and say like, hey, what you said was fucked up. I didn't like it because of this. And that person say, well, you know what? I can say whatever the hell I want because this is how I feel. And at least they're having a conversation, as opposed to just being like, oh, you said that. Oh my God, you're bad. You're the worst ever.
But do you truly see conversations actually take?
No, that's the point.
They take place online.
To me, that's the point. Like, there's no conversations happening because people are too afraid. But like, I'm not trying to say that that's what I feel, how I feel exactly. I just thought what that person said reminded me right now, and for whatever reason, what we were talking about reminded me of that. And I was like, I kind of like, I don't know, like maybe 60% I can kind of agree with what she said. Because I do feel like...
Okay, let me segue. Go ahead. Do you want to finish that off? Can I segue?
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I kind of 50-60% agree, but I think it's good to have. I think it's good to have like somebody, or to see things that challenge your perspective, not always to just see things or listen to things that agree with what you think and how you see the world.
Yeah.
That's it for me.
Okay.
But you take it so personal. It's not personal.
I do.
Like, that's the thing. It's like,
here's the thing. I take things personal. To me, that's what I think. To me, what it is like I don't like to take things personal. I don't understand
these
sites
how
are
certain
called
things like are so
social
personal.
sites. These sites are called social sites,
right?
Not megaphones for you to be so fucking offensive. They're social sites. But then
if you have certain views,
it's to socialize.
No, but if you have certain views, then you can express them. But if you don't have those views, then you can't express them.
No, that's not the way that works. Like if you're at torn ends with somebody about something, maybe take the conversation offline. Maybe have like a text or a call or a FaceTime call or meet in person and talk about these things that are important to you. But when you speak in overall generalization, you're speaking to everybody. At this point, you're trying to offend anyone.
I don't know. See, I don't agree. I don't think that any time that you speak, you have to think about who can I possibly offend.
No, but you have to realize that you're on a social site. It's for socializing, and when you're speaking in
right,
that
but you're
way,
on your personal social profile.
No, it's a public personal social site.
No, if you have a personal profile, it's your personal profile. People can choose to unfollow. People can choose to block you. People can choose to go away if they don't want to see what you have to say. But it's your personal platform that you can say what you want to say.
If you owned WandaWords.com, yes, that's your personal platform.
Right.
You own it. You pay for it. You own it. I, as a user of Facebook or Instagram, don't pay as a user.
No, you don't. But I don't.
Pays. Exactly.
But what happens if you abuse it? Like, look at Donald Trump. They took him off their sites. So, like that, it's not like there's no consequence. Like there is consequence.
I have okay, so my views about like social sites, they overlap and sometimes they contradict, and I understand that. Sometimes I agree and disagree with Juan, and sometimes I'm so far this and so far that, and I come back and I think a different way based on the situation. So yeah, I agree, Juan. It is again, I'm still like I don't have fixated views when it comes to social sites. I don't have fixated like mentality when it comes to expressing yourself, even on social sites. So my views can sound very contradicting as opposed to Juan, who's very like linear and this is it, right? He tries to be very diplomatic about things. No, and I'm not.
I'm not trying, but I'm not saying that I'm not saying this is where I stand and that's it. What I'm saying is like that, or like in what that person said, I said I could agree 50 to 60% of what she said. The other 40-50%, I don't agree. But yeah, I'm at least willing to kind of like think about what she said and be like, oh, how does that apply? Like, could that be true? And like, to me, that's what I mean. I don't mean that I'm like, oh, this is the only way. Like when I go online I don't go online and I don't share my personal stuff anymore. I don't share like a lot of like opinions because I just don't want to. But if I did, like, I would think that if you don't want to hear my opinions, then get off my page.
Were you gonna cuss?
No, I was just gonna say get off my page. If you don't like, if I see other people's posts,
very diplomatic. He's very diplomatic.
If I see other people's posts, and I've done it, like where I don't like the direction that their content is going in, or not their content, but just maybe in that particular moment in time in their life, they're like angry, or maybe not angry, or they're going through something, and they're just sharing a lot of stuff that's like, I'm just like, I see it and I'm like, okay, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. So I'm like, let me put this person on mute for 30 days. And in 30 days, we'll come back.
Do you remember when you put people on mute?
Yeah.
You do?
I do. Don't. But if you mute them for 30 days, like on Facebook, you put them on pause for 30 days.
Yeah.
And then after 30 days, you see them again. And then if it's the same thing all over again, then I'm like, oh, okay, let me put them on another pause for 30 more days. Or like if I'm really like, okay, let me just unfollow. But you have there's like those options are there.
Yeah, I know, and I get it, and sometimes even speaking like your truth and speaking your story can inadvertently like cause somebody else to feel a certain way, and they put mute on you and stuff like that. And you're like, why? Like, I haven't seen this person interact with me in a while. Was it the last thing I said? When was the last thing I said that they might have taken aback by?
And people have done that. Like, have people done that to you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where like people have muted me and I'm like, oh, wait, why did they mute me? Like, I don't know, what did I say? But I'm like, oh, I guess I said something. I don't know.
You can't tell when they mute you, but you can tell when they've been interactive, especially like on me when it like shows you on stories, like who's seen your story. And then you go back and then the regular people that watch your story, you go back and you look and you're like, the same person isn't watching my story. They must have muted me.
No, I'm nosy. If I see somebody, like, if I, like, no, then I'll go and, like, see, are they still following me or not?
No.
And then I'll be like, but I don't take it personal. I just want to know. Like, I do want to know. Like, oh, okay, they don't. Okay, that's good. Like, I'm not, like, I'm like,
see, but I do take things personal, so I'd rather not know if they unfollowed me.
I wonder, like, I wonder what I said. And I'm like, give it a thought. And then I'm like, maybe I should be more careful about what I say.
No, it's not that I think I want to. I don't think that I want to not offend people. Like, that's not. I'm not obsessed about not offending people. I'm just, I feel like I'm more, I don't know, sensitive maybe.
You're more aware about it. Sometimes I think like people do things and they don't do it with the intention of like offending anybody. They're just kind of expressing themselves, not realizing that they're like that they are saying something that is, that people can take the wrong way.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm like so bothered by it. Like if I find out like they unfollowed me, I just don't want to feel. I don't want to think about why. You know what I mean? I just rather not know. Yeah. It is what it is. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, it is what it is. Like, don't tell me if you did or didn't. And I'm not going to go on like a third party site to see who followed or not. But I don't even know how to actually do it. I think you can tell.
You like just go and search their name.
Yeah. Well, don't tell me because I don't want to do it. So anyway, I'm just going to segue into our topic of today. This was the whole intro. This isn't even the topic.
Yeah.
We're so bad at this.
I got all the game, don't get fucked in your brain. I can do you worse than you ever did me first.
My name is Angelica Casares.
And I'm Juan Alanis.
So if you're out here and you've left us a rating, Juan, you just told me right now we had a rating, right?
Yeah, I was saying that I was saying that people have a lot of opinions about our podcast and our like.
I don't know if they have it. Like they're not talking about us. They don't have a lot of opinions, but they've left us a review.
No, I say that jokingly because we've gotten a few comments here and there. And,
okay. So we're encouraging people to come leave us a rating and a review.
So you're right. One thing about us is that we are pretty thick-skinned. At least I consider myself to be pretty thick-skinned.
You are.
So
don't be mean to me.
So we take everything. We take all the feedback that you give us, and we really appreciate it because we feel like this is a learning experience for us as we're kind of learning to do this more and more. And where we started a year ago is not where we are now, but who knows where we're going to be in a year from now if we're still doing this.
Yeah,
but
we're enjoying it.
We wanted to take a moment while you're listening to this podcast to just say thank you for being here, thank you for listening to us, and to remind you to share this podcast and any other podcast that you might have enjoyed with your friends and family, and to let you know that we're on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, all that good places that you can go and listen to podcasts. But you can find all our links at juanofwords.com and on all our social media accounts.
Back up on my piece shit, I don't care if you don't like it. I'm really different, don't gotta show you I'm like that.
So our topic for today, Juan, have you ever heard the term Fika?
No, you mentioned it to me, but I didn't.
I did. It's a Swedish term. It's actually a Swedish custom, a break from activity during which people drink coffee, eat cakes or other light snacks, and relax with others. So Fika, it's incidental to the companionship of socializing and catching up with friends and colleagues. But so basically it's like drinking wine or drinking beer or drinking coffee and just sitting down and talking. And so in Sweden, like in Sweden,
like a merienda.
Kind of, yeah. So it's usually done by candlelight or an office corner, somewhere where they dim the lights and you just have a conversation. You have like I guess there are a lot of more to serve like heart-to-heart conversations or like to yield to understand each other. And so companies in Sweden and it do this. Like they actually, it's a custom that they're like, all right, well, let's take the break that usually we take, and that's what it's called. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. So it's like
I enjoyed reading about it. I thought, I was like, you know what? I think we would be in better odds with each other here in the States if we actually took the time to do things like that, like socialize with each other.
But it's like a daily thing they do, or what?
I don't know if it's a daily thing they do, but I know it's a thing that it's done there. I know Mexicans in Mexico actually do that too.
Well, in Mexico, it's a siesta. So it's like
No, a siesta is like a nap.
Yeah, but it's like a siesta is like in the middle of the day. Like that's what they, like a lot of times that's what they, like in the middle of the day you close like at 12 and then you open back up like at 2 or 3.
Yeah, so it's you go and it's your lunch / do what you need to do. But a lot of people do like congregate around those times and hours to eat and for like long periods if you want to.
It's a good I mean it's a good like it's a lifestyle thing that I think makes just it feels like you take life a little bit. You would take time to enjoy life a little bit more when you take those breaks. Like when you've been in like I've been in Mexico and then like all of a sudden you're like 12 or 2 o'clock, 12 to 2, everything's closed and you're like, what the hell? Why is everything closed? And
no, not even that.
Sometimes everybody's socializing at home.
Sometimes they even close on certain days.
Yeah, and it's like you're like, why is everything closed? And because you come from the States and where everything is like always open. Like 24/7, this and that, especially in a city like Houston, you can always find anything you want open. Well, now with the pandemic, but before you could find almost all the time everything was open. So we're
whatever
so used to
you
that.
wanted, like you can find it open.
But like going to Mexico and then seeing like, wait, everything's closed and everybody's just kind of at home or like with their like socializing. Like it brings like I feel like it breeds a sense of community that's a little bit stronger.
Yeah,
you know that, and it also just encourages you to take into your like wellness into account better.
So it's what I guess the surprising part of Fika is that it's intentional. So it's not mandatory, but I don't know if it's mandatory, but I guess I'm assuming that it's so ingrained into the culture that it's just a custom. It's a thing that you do, that you socialize within your company or you socialize outside, you know what I mean? So, and they were talking about how some people there, like actually, like if it's your turn to like, I guess, host, you bring like, you bake in the morning before you go to work and you have like pastries and you have
like a potluck.
Not a potluck. So you'd bake like pastries, either sweet or I think not sweet or something like that. And then you bring like cut up fruit. So it's light. It's not lunch.
Right. It's not too heavy so that you can come back to work.
Yeah, I'm assuming that's the way it works. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that sounds really cool.
I don't know. I don't understand it all that well. I just read I read up on it and I thought I was like, that's pretty cool to like, you know what I mean? But here here in the States, we're so accustomed to being like, no, work is work and I don't care about my people on my job.
Well, I think that like, especially now, like with the pandemic.
Did I just make fun of people? No. I didn't mean to do that. I understand. Sometimes your job is your job and doesn't mean you have to like socialize with them and your work friends aren't your real friends. But it's better that you get along with your colleagues in your workspace for y'all to actually work and get along. So I think that's the purpose of doing something like that in an office space.
To create like a better company culture, a better environment. But I think like now with the pandemic, like so many people have gone to working from home that I think a lot of people don't want to go back to work in the office anymore. Like they don't want to, if you don't have to go back to work in person. Like I think a lot of people are looking, as that being an extra benefit. Like now of when they go back to work or when they find a job is like to say, you know what, can I work home some of the time? Can I like do like some virtual working days? I
think some people find that to be true, like when they have something to do at home. So if you're taking care of a kid or you're taking care of a parent or you need like supplemental income like into your household and you can't leave because you have to pick up kids or whatever other responsibilities, I think it works for that. But there's a misconnection when you're just working from home and online.
Yeah, I mean, like you definitely, you feel that, but I think that more, whereas before, I don't think people just accepted that you didn't, like that wasn't an option. Like when you signed on to a job, you signed on to be there 40 hours a week or however many hours you were scheduled. People didn't even like, it wasn't even like a process. It wasn't even like a thought. Like, you know, it was rare that you would hear somebody say like, oh, you know what, we work like 4-day weeks, or we work like 3-day weeks, or we work on Fridays, we work from home or whatever. Like, it was different. Like before, now, because everybody's been doing it for the last year, I think now it's like much more accepted, and people are much more willing to be like, you know what, when they go to the negotiating table to get a job, to say, you know what, if you're not going to pay me more, or I'm not going to get these additional benefits, can I work from home 1 day a week?
Yeah. Or 2 days a week, or can I work half of my schedule from home and half of my schedule here?
Yeah.
And whenever there's meetings, I'll show up to the meetings, you know, or whenever there's gatherings that aren't required, but they would help to socialize with each other so we can better understand each other. Because sometimes some things can come off passive aggressive, like online, so through email, but the person's not passive aggressive. And then you get to understand like, oh no, that person didn't mean the email like that. Maybe it's just this. You know what I mean? Communication is different when you're in person and online. Like, mines are short and dry when I email and when I text people. They're very short and dry. And I'm making a big effort to like add things like when I talk to women and their friends, their good friends, I make sure to like, I don't know, add words.
Well, sometimes
to be like, hey, you know, hey, beautiful, I missed you. I would love to see you. You know what I mean?
And even like on even like in virtual meetings, like I think your body language can say a lot, because like I've been having a bunch of Zoom meetings the past year, but
people look down at their phone.
Yeah, people look at their phone. But one thing that I've done a lot is that I multitask, and it's a bad habit sometimes.
Yes, it is.
That I'm like on my computer, I'm like on this, and I'm doing this, and I'm doing that, and I'm like on my phone, I'm doing all kinds of stuff, and I'm like listening, and I'm like all over the place.
So then you're not present.
And yeah, like it can be that you're not present. But the other thing is like, you don't know how people interpret that, because some people might interpret that as being rude, and some people might interpret it as you're just busy, and some people might interpret it as like, you know what, you're just not interested. So like it's interesting to then I've had conversations like after with some people that I've been in Zoom meetings with where I was preoccupied with other things while I was listening, and the way to listen to the way that they perceived like who I am based on that. Like some it's been like one in particular, I think they thought like I was just like a super busy person, like I'm and I was like, no, I'm just like a very distracted person.
Yeah, you are. You're very much one of those persons who like, I guess if you can fix it immediately, like you'll just do it. You know what I mean? But like not understanding that you're trying. So I remember back in the day, I used to hear, I heard once that multitasking isn't actually a thing. What you're actually doing is you're stopping one task to do another. So multitasking is a myth. And so you have to pay attention to who's talking to you and what y'all are talking about, because you can't, like, how can you listen to one conversation and have another conversation on the side? You can't do both. You can't do both. Like, I don't know how to explain that.
Oh, I would beg to differ, but yeah, I do.
Shut up. All right, Juan, bye.
But I do acknowledge
podcast over.
but I do make it a point sometimes where I'm like, okay, no, I have to stop. I have to stop, and I have to look at the camera, and then I have to like grab something and I fidget with it in my hand, so that I'm like, okay, I'm just sitting here staring at a computer, like listening to other people talk.
Even sometimes when we like lay down in bed and I'm like reading an article and you're like, hey, and I'm like, yeah, I'm hearing you, and you're like, no, look at me.
I'm like a big kid, and like,
so
I'm like,
I mean,
hey,
imagine,
over here, hello.
Yeah, so I give the same attention to people when I meet them.
But do you ever have those like out of body experiences, kind of like where you?
Yes, when I'm driving and I forget I'm driving and I look up and I'm like, holy shit, I'm still driving. Yes.
No. No, I mean like an out of body experience where you get a glimpse of yourself, how other people are perceiving you, or how other people like look at you.
Yeah, here on the podcast. Because when I go back and I listen to it and I'm like, God, what is she saying? I didn't even understand half of the shit I said. And I was like, what was I trying to say? And so, so I'm trying to make an effort to like take mental notes.
Or like, I think a perfect example.
So I can convey a message. Yeah, go ahead.
like I think a good perfect example is like when you do the Latino leadership series and you ask all the ladies or the women that you have on the show, you always ask them if they see themselves as a leader, and a lot of them say like, well, you know, a lot of other people tell me that I'm a leader, and that's kind of like they're getting a glimpse of how people see them.
Yeah,
and it's like every once in a while it happens where you like get a glimpse of like how other people are looking at you, and
but
it's like and it's almost like you're an out of body, and you're like, oh wait, that's me, or like that's
like you're being called up, like it's your name being called, and you're like, me? No, not me. No, it's me. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have to be like, oh, okay, well, like, it is me, and then you have to make a decision. Well, is that who I want to be, or is that me, like just?
Am I gonna take ownership, and if it's good or bad, am I gonna change it?
Yeah. So that's like sometimes you feel that, and you like, but I think that like it's common to have that every once in a while.
All right, so following up on that, the Fika. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know. On that conversation, I also read an article that states 4 reasons why slowing down would actually make you more successful. So actually taking a break in the middle of the day every now and then, and more often than not, it's actually going to benefit you.
Oh, yeah.
And you're going to be more successful, according to this article.
Oh, yes, you are.
Yes, look at my lazy ass being successful.
No, sometimes you do. No, sometimes you do just need to be like, you know what? I'm just gonna veg out, and I'm just not gonna do shit because I need to recuperate.
Yeah. Well, why are you jumping ahead? Let me tell. Can I give you the 4 reasons why? Dang, already.
Well, I was getting excited because I'm like, I do thoroughly believe in that. I'm like, hey, you know what?
Now we do.
Take me to the 3 beers, and we'll have some beers.
Yeah, no, I kid you not. In the middle of the day, we'll go have lunch and then have some beers. Yeah. And then sometimes we finish work and sometimes we don't.
And not that that's the only way that I relax, but like, you know.
Yeah. No, it's not the only way. So reason 1, you'll have greater clarity. What's the point of hustling if you're going in the wrong direction?
Yeah, because sometimes if you don't like take a moment to stop, like I think, again, the pandemic, like it made a lot of people stop what they were doing and like, look, okay, you know what? You're not going to do that anymore. You're going to be home. You're going to be here still for like 24 hours. And then it forced a lot of people to hit pause and be like, okay, well, now I have to really look at what I'm doing.
Yeah. So number 2, you can't hustle if you're dead. Take the time to honor your mind, body, and soul. So as Juan was saying early in the podcast about Men's Health Week.
And Men's Health Month.
Yes, correct. It's about taking care of yourself. It's slowing down enough to pay attention to your thoughts and your body. And I guess, like today, I woke up really anxious and I didn't know why. I was like, what did I do? What did I watch? And then I realized that. So I guess last night I was watching things that I shouldn't have been watching, and even some TikTok videos. And I'm like, why are these TikTok videos even allowed on the platform, or like shorts on like YouTube? And I'm like, why did I watch that? Like, why did I see that? That's so like where it makes your skin crawl. And of course I woke up anxious this morning. So number 3, you'll harness the power of emotion. Emotional intelligence, people. I've had this conversation over and over and over, and I will continue to have the conversation because if you want to be successful, you have to understand the other people that you're trying to get them to either buy your product, buy into your service, or buy into what you're trying to say when you're trying to communicate. So you'll harness the power of emotions. You can get into the habit of triggering bad habits and behaviors and actions. Slow down to the experience of emotions.
Yeah. And a lot of times when you're just doing things out of habit, like you don't realize that, you know, those are like, you have unhealthy behaviors that you're like, that are creating more stress in your like person, or more stress in your situation, because like say in the office environment, like if you're constantly engaging in like gossip about the same thing over and over, and I've done it. Like, I mean, I've done it many times, many jobs, engaged in the gossip. But that, like, when you really think about it, like you're kind of feeding into like the negativity, and so well, not only are you feeding it in, but you're also perpetuating it, because as a listener, you're
it's being fed.
Yeah, and so you're kind of stuck in a way. Like you're stuck in that like situation where you're constantly like, oh, look, this happened today and that happened today or this happened, and you're analyzing it over and over and over, regurgitating.
You go back and you're like, of course this happened because that happened and this happened and that happened and blah 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 blah, and she said, Nancy said, and who said, and Rosa said, and blah 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 said, and you're like, what the fuck? Like, slow the fuck down.
And those things can like hold you back from like actually just moving forward and moving towards your goals or things that.
Well, imagine it takes capacity in your mind, and if it didn't take capacity in your mind, you'd be doing other things.
Yeah, it's like one of the YouTubers that I watch. He always says like that he's getting tired of. He says, "What is it? My mouth is getting dry talking about the same damn thing."
Yeah, basically. Okay, and so lastly, you'll make better decisions. Unlike number 1, where you'll have clarity, it's like you'll actually make better decisions because when you slow down, remember, you have clarity now. You have the time to absorb information. You'll slow down, think about it, and then you'll think, you know what I mean? And so you'll look at it from different directions as opposed to making snap decisions. Snap decisions do work when you have all the information and the time is now. But usually, snap decisions can lead to trouble.
Yeah, and like that's why like I think like why a lot of companies do like company retreats.
Yeah,
or like where they'll take even if it's just a weekend or just a day, and they'll all go together and do something. Like somebody was telling me that they were going to do something where they were going to rent a limo and take everybody to like I think it was Galveston, and they were going to spend the weekend or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's fun. Like that sounds like it's like building the morale. It's like showing that you're like the team that you care about them.
You get to experience people in different environments to see how they act. Not just in the inside the walls of like your company, or watching them pull up in their car and grabbing their little lunch and, talking like blasés, over like the table at the lunchroom or whatever. But you get to see them in different environment, how they interact with other people, not just people in their office.
And even like leadership training programs, like they do this. There's one in Houston where they take you like to a week to like a different, like to the mountains or something. And then you have to like, as your team of people, you all like are there and doing exercises and things. Yeah, and it sounds like really
it sounds like fun. I want to do that.
Yeah, like that sounds really nice because it's like you're taking the time to slow down, to be in the elements and to really think about decisions that you have to make instead of just rushing into being like, oh, you know what, we need to make the decision right now. Let's do it.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Like building.
Yeah.
Mental building.
Like team building. Yeah. Like doing like a company retreat or company trip. And that sounds like
I'm taking
fun.
mental notes. I Google leadership retreats in Texas. I'm already making mental notes. Okay. But that's basically it. Why it's important in other countries, they do this where they slow down, they actually take breaks, and why it's actually good for you to do the same in the middle of the work week, in the middle of the work day. And in a stressful situation, it probably is in peril for you to walk away and figure it out, come back with a better mindset.
Yeah, and you don't have to be like in any other country. Like you said, you can do it here in the U.S. and whatever city you're in. You can make the decision to be like, you know what? I'm going to take a Fika. I'm going to take a Fika today, and I'm going to go and relax.
I was going to say something, but
or I'm going to go and I'm going to go socialize with my coworkers today. But what I was going to say about the retreat was like, sometimes like if you're in like the gossip thing, like going back to the gossip thing, like if I'm always every day like, oh, did you see what Angelica's doing today? Did you see what Angelica's wearing?
Why does it got to be me?
But then when you go on something like that, it gives you the opportunity to see that person in a different light. Yeah. And to experience them in a different way. Mm-hmm. And, maybe you don't become best friends, but you do.
You have a better understanding, yeah.
Yeah, you understand them a little bit more. Yeah. And maybe it eases some of the tension.
It can ease some of the tension, and conversations become easier.
Yeah. And that's good. Like, because then you're not stuck there on the constant, like, negativity. You can, like, move forward. Like you can like resolve it and move forward. Yeah. Well, that's it. That's the whole podcast today. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you took something away. Do you take mental breaks within the work week, or you just harness down and you're like, no, I'm going to wait till the weekend? What kind are you? What do you do? Or what little breaks do you take? Do you take them at all? And what do you do? And I'm going to ask y'all something. What's your favorite reality show? Why are you whispering? So that I could be like... Are you trying to ASMR this? Tell me what your favorite reality show is. Because I'm embarrassed that I talk so much about my reality shows. Like,
you sounded creepy, like whispering into that microphone, Juan. Oh my God.
It sounded creepy?
Yes. What are you doing?
Why would it sound creepy? Like, you make it sound like I was whispering something bad.
No, but you whispering. I'm like, what? Why are you whispering? Ugh. I hear it in these headphones, and I'm like, what? I'm sorry, what? I did not sign up to an ASMR podcast. What are you doing?
Now featured on Juan Words ASMR.
No. All right. Well,
this was fun, guys. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say? I was just going to remind you guys that you can go to our website, juanofwords.com, and you'll find all our links, including our Apple podcast, where we do want you to, if you listen on Apple, go and leave us a rating. 5 stars, please. We would appreciate that. That would really help us to find more people, and it helps us just to reach a broader audience. We've gotten a few emails from you guys telling us that you've listened to the show, that you're enjoying it, that you just happened to find us. Somebody recommended you the show, so we appreciate that, and we want you, if you enjoy it, share it with somebody else.
It makes my heart warm when I read things like, oh, somebody recommended you guys and I'm listening. I'm like,
yeah.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for taking the time to comment and reaching out to us. I really appreciate that.
All right. And with that,
We'll see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
I was waiting for you.